it almost gets a little scary to me. You can't clothe, house, or feed everyone. Somebody has to pay for that, and a few things that I kind of live by: the strong survive, the weak are at their mercy for the most part in the world. That's how nature is, and the world will always be that way. And a poor man without capital never started a company and hired 500 to 1,000 people and gave them jobs that allowed them to raise a family, buy a house, such as it may be. And the biggest thing nowadays that really irks me, and I just want to go on record as Tracy Lehman saying this today, man-caused global warming is the largest hoax ever perpetrated on the American public. Global warming and cooling has been going on for millions of years, predating the dinosaur. And for man to think we are the driving cause of this warming cycle is ludicrous.
Tracy, let us grab it right there and give it to Noam Chomsky. There's a worldview. It is not a rare one in this country. How do you respond? It is not a rare one. What Tracy's just outlined.
Global warming?
Well, on global warming, on the way an economy works, the strong survive. Go to a Tea Party rally, I think you'd find some Tracy's.
And that's why every Republican senatorial candidate, according to the last studies, denies the overwhelming consensus of the scientific community, very much as the caller does. And they're just flatly wrong. I mean, if you look at the global warming question, there are basically three positions, only two of them represented in media debate. One is if you read a debate in the New York Times, it talks about the scientific consensus and the deniers. So 98% of scientists is one half, and fringe and a couple of senators is the other half. There's a third component which is missing. That's the many scientists, right at MIT, for example, who argue that the consensus is wrong because it's nowhere near serious enough. It's much worse than what they say. There was a big study done by MIT scientists recently, the most comprehensive modeling ever done. They give extremely dire forecasts and say that unless we cut fossil fuels very rapidly, our grandchildren are going to live in a system that's disastrous.
Tracy, I'm sorry, Professor, but our time's so short. And Tracy, there's something. There's the Chomsky view for you to chew on. I appreciate your call, Mike in Albemarle, North Carolina. Mike, you're on with Noam Chomsky.
First of all, I would like to thank you, Professor Chomsky, for your enlightening works, your writing, your Sorrows of Empire, which I've read in my history classroom. I was a history teacher for 35 years, an English teacher as well in high school. And I got in some trouble for being way over there with you, but I support you wholeheartedly. My question, I have two parts to two questions. One, why can't the left come up with a viable leader who can be honest about everything, starting with the environment, with fossil fuel depletion and resource scarcity?
Yeah, and question two, Mike. Our time is short, my friend.
And secondly, why can't there be a democratic socialist party in this country where people's interests are how can so many people be led to vote directly against their own interests in this country and duped by the nonsense of denying global warming and the lies about Obama and everything? It just seems as though there needs to be a truth mission here. And
Mike, thanks for your call. We've got just 2 minutes. Noam Chomsky, there's the big questions.
It's a very big question. It goes way back for a century. It's been asked, why is there no left party? Why is there no socialist movement and so on? And there are a lot of reasons. First of all, it's not entirely true. So the New Deal and Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, they were what in Europe would be called social democratic movements. We don't call them that here for all kind of ideological reasons. And if you look at, say, participation in activism on the environment, on civil rights, on many other anti-war and so on, it's probably greater now in the United States than it was any time since the 30s, a little bump in the 1960s, but it's very substantial. On the other hand, this is, to an unusual extent, a business-run society. It's different from Europe in that respect. There are a lot of historical reasons for it. A lot of it has to do with the fact that this country didn't grow out of feudalism, which left some institutions of social support. You might remember that the first major welfare state was Bismarck in Germany, coming out of feudal background. We were not like that. This was a society of immigrants. It effectively exterminated the indigenous population, spread over the country, plenty of government support all the way through, contrary to mythology. And it was a very rich country, a lot of resources. It was possible to grow and develop with serious crises, but with a substantial business sector dominating it.
We've got half a minute, less than that. What's your best hope looking forward, or do you have one?
The best hope, I think, is something like what happened in the 1930s. I mean, after several years of deep depression, and it was quite a few years, there was a popular revival. The core of it was labor organizing. And unless that's done, there won't be much progress, I don't think. But it can be done. I don't think it's... you couldn't have predicted in 1932 that you were going to get the CIO organized. Well, maybe that'll happen.
Noam Chomsky, 81 years old and still in there, wailing away. Professor Chomsky, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thanks.
Listeners, thanks for your calls and your questions. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Tom Ashbrook. This is On Point.